Hey, what's up, Moto Buddies? Mike here from Taco Moto Co. and Baja Taco Tours, and we're out again on the Honda. This is the 2020 CRF450L. This is a loader bike that we've had for a month or so, and we've just been really dissecting it and trying to figure out what are the shortcomings with this bike, where does it need improvement, comparing it to the KTM 500, which is sort of its natural enemy. It's, you know, they're both targeted to probably more towards vet riders, dual sport guys, dudes who are probably former, you know, hotshot riders, guys who are trying to cut through all the red tape of the green sticker, red sticker situation in California or in other states, dudes who are looking to outfit long distance, overland bikes, BDR type guys. So that's sort of the target market for both of these machines. And the first time, man, I'm not gonna lie, the first time I rode this bike, I hated it. Absolutely hated the CRF450L. It was twitchy. It was too lively. It was overly responsive in the suspension. The rear end kicked around. It was unsettling. It gave me arm pump straight away. It was too demanding. It required too much attention. The chassis felt absolutely terrible, and this is an upgraded chassis in that the suspension has been done by Alex over at Conflict. So, you know, I was riding a bike that had been improved over stock, so it had that going for it. It's got flex bars on it. It has the right bones to be a really good feeling 450, CRF 450. I hated it, absolutely hated it. The power delivery was twitchy. This bike has the Yoshi, full Yoshi, and it had a Vortex in it. I was riding in the same types of situations that I would typically ride my KTM on, which is stuff out here outside of Las Vegas. So my house is down here somewhere, kind of on the edge of town. And so there's single track up here, double track, powerline roads, there's Jeep rows, hill climbs, all kinds of sand washes. So situations that I would normally ride my KTM in and would charge super hard and wouldn't shy away from anything. So I'd pick any line or pick any hill climb or single track. And the first couple of times out on this bike, I didn't want to ride any of that challenging stuff, stuck to two track and didn't care for it at all. So I dove into ways to upfit this bike and to figure this thing out, figure out the chassis, and figure out the power a little bit better. And so I'm going to give you a quick little overview of where that's been going, where that's been taking us. So one of the first things I did was jump on some of the Honda forums, the CRF forums, not just for the L, but for the R and the RX and the motocross bikes. And I found Kris Keefer, who is a great guy. Met him one time out on a photo shoot for a bike. Fantastic dude. And one of the things that I learned from him was how important chassis flex is, and playing around with some of the bolts, pinch bolts, for example, like right here. And Ashley's even got this. Ashley's bike, Moscow Moto, cool chick. You should check out Moscow Moto for bags and gear if you haven't already. Riding apparel as well, jackets, pants, things like that. So one of the things she's done to this bike is upfitted the motor brackets, the engine hangers, from stock to the FCPs, which, you know, those come with some improvements, chassis flex and dynamics. And so then Kris taught me to play around with pinch bolt torques, and in the comments of this, in the notes of this, I'll put what I've changed these all to. So these are all adjusted. These are not stock anymore. Down here, pinch bolt. Up here, these pinch bolts here for the frame, front motor mounts. These have been adjusted. So we've got our pinch bolts here for the forks, the triple clamps. Those are not stock adjustments. Also the rear axle wheel pinch bolt right here, this has been changed, so none of those are stock anymore. Also the swing arm pinch bolt, I guess maybe if we come on this side we can see that would be under here. We take this off to get to that, to tighten it. So none of those are factory torque specs. Right here, that's the front hanger bolts. And that change was huge. That made a dramatic improvement. The bike instantly. Oh, the other thing too is I dropped the forks way down in the triple clamp, and that was one of the things too that made it feel very good too. So I think the very first thing I did was drop the forks down. because these had been set maybe intentionally or unintentionally, and they were just riding high. So bike had a very short wheelbase. The sag was not quite right for me. So the very first thing I did was drop the forks and set the sag for me. And that brought the bike to heel considerably. So that was a nice improvement. No money, a couple of minutes of time. That improved it, but I still did not like it. It wasn't where I wanted it to be. So then found Kris Keefer and his suggestions, did all those chassis bolt changes, and that improved it a lot, like a ton, and was quite happy with that. Still though, it wasn't where I felt like the KTMs were almost stock in terms of chassis feel and confidence. And then I ordered up a Scott stabilizer, and that was absolutely game-changing right there. That was huge. So that was kind of the final piece of the puzzle, is throwing a steering stabilizer on here. Now, today, right now, this morning, just attacked these roads, just came across the ridge there on some single track. And so finally now, I can straight up say that this is a bike that feels very, very similar to what I feel on a KTM as far as confidence and ability to ride this thing like a dirt bike, like a true dirt bike that is, was hiding underneath that chassis. And some of those, I think, just the original specs and the original setup. So I went and I bought a 21 450 CRF450L because this bike needs to go. Ashley wants to ride her bike. She misses it. So this has got to go back to her. And I needed more time. I need more time to continue developing on this platform. So I went out and I bought a 21 RL. So it's the CRF450 RL, so we could continue. So I'm gonna start as a basis of that bike, transferring over all these data points. So we'll just take all the specs, stabilizer, got one coming for that. I'm not sure I'm going to do flex bars, although I will do it as a test. One of the things too we're going to test on that bike is all of the different handlebar setups. So we've got Pro Taper Evos we're going to try. We're going to upgrade the bracket so we can go to 1 1/8 bars. We're going to get rid of the smaller bars, the 7/8 bars, and only focus and work on the 1 1/8 bars. And then try different bar setups, different dampers, not different dampers, but just different bars for dampening. So I've got flex bars we'll swap on, and then I'm going to try out my favorite bars of all time, which are the Twisted Engineering carbon fiber handlebars. To this day, I have yet to find anything that dampens wrist hits. It feels like it's a second piece of the suspension and engine vibes. So it does those as good as all the other things are. Flex bars, fantastic. Pro Taper Evos, all those other options, they do a great job. But those twisted bars, I can't find anything that does a better job. So anyway, we're going to run all those on the Honda. We've already done all that through the KTM, and we'll try that on the Honda. So the steering stabilizer has kind of finally sorted out all of the last chassis issues on this bike, and it's fantastic. I'm stoked at how well this thing rides now and how much that improved everything. The last thing I'll tell you about that we did is we threw in a stealthy flywheel weight, so a 7 ounce flywheel weight here on the flywheel underneath the stator cover, and that also added to just a huge and dramatic improvement in how this bike feels, the power, the way it lays down the power. The first thing I noticed coming out of the house, once I hit a main street, I always like to roll a wheelie and run up this major street, pulling a wheelie, good times. The front end came up smoother, better, and held the wheelie with less drama than it did before. So right away, I noticed that the flywheel weight had that instant improvement, totally noticeable. Then when I got to the first spot where I had to stop for a stop sign, the bike has a recluse in it, and since the setup of these recluses on these non-hydraulic clutches, now you'll say, no, this bike does have a hydraulic clutch, so I added the Magura hydraulic clutch system, but it's not native to this bike. That's an aftermarket add-on, and so the recluse on these bikes that are like, unlike the KTM, which has an adjustable slave cylinder, these come with a cable slave cylinder, and so you adjust the Recluse with different thickness steels, and so you adjust the shim pack for a specific pack thickness. For a gap, you play with the gap based on that. So because the clutch does have a little bit of wear in it, and it probably needs to be pulled apart and adjusted, and I'll take care of that, but I just haven't yet. It hasn't been high on the list. The second thing I noticed was that sitting at that stop sign, the bike previously had a little bit of a lurchy feel to it because of that, just a little bit of a maladjustment in the clutch pack itself. The bike would just sit there and just sort of pulse a little bit, push forward, and you could sort of feel that. The idle was dead smooth. That went away. It completely cured that. So that was the second thing I noticed. Two really nice, significant improvements. And then once I got out and hit the dirt, the power felt smoother, much more linear, more KTM 500 like. So this 450, the other thing I didn't really care for on the 450 was, and I don't like, and you can tell me that you know I'm a dummy for this. I don't love the power of a 450 for the kind of riding I do. I love it if you want an exciting e-ticket ride. I do like the 450 class engines for that. I think they're very fun and they are very lively. I don't care for that. I don't go for that. I like the 500, the power delivery of the 500. And the 450 here, this Honda felt that same. It felt peaky. It felt rushed. It also felt like you had to stay up in the revs a little bit to get into more of the heart of the power, where the 500 is the meat is right there off idle. The 450, you need to keep it up in the revs a little higher. This moved the power band down lower. Right now I'm running the Power Commander. We've been doing a lot of testing with the PC5 Power Commander version 5, and that's what's in there now. I've got if you notice, I have a Vortex map switch on here because we've been jumping back and forth, comparing the maps in the Vortex, primarily running map 2 as the primary map we've been testing, doing a little bit in 1, also testing the dynamic traction control. We've got a video on how to set that up. So I've been doing a lot of jumping back and forth. Right now, running the Power Commander. Got that pretty well dialed in and sorted out, loving it. And considerably less coin than the Vortex, making almost within 1 or 2 percentage points, same level of power. Fantastic with that. So the flywheel weight, the 450L needs a flywheel weight. Man, it absolutely, now the bike tracks, it feels like a 500. It gave me the kind of confidence that I always needed to be able to go and want to take this on single track trails. So between those chassis adjustments that we talked about, and then the power now with that stealthy 7-ounce flywheel weight on here, I am super stoked, super happy about this bike. I'm now in love with the 450L. It took a lot of changes. So I'm in a lot of boards and a lot of forums on KTMs and Hondas, and guys, purists will say, well, why do you buy a bike if you're going to make all these mods and changes? Some of us hate these bikes. You heard my opinion. I did not like this 450L. I was unimpressed. Did not work for me. Now, I've spent a lot of time and some money to get it to where I want it to be, but I would say at this point, and I say this to guys all the time, these machines are toys. This is a toy. I play with my toys. I like to play with my toys, break my toys, figure out how to play with them better. And so these are the things that it took to make this bike work for me the way I like them to be set up and the way I ride them. So in the notes down here, I'll throw what some of those things were. Continue to like and subscribe and check out our channel for more updates and videos on the 450 and then our own 450L as we move all these things over and then continue to update and refine that platform as well. So that's where we're at with the 450L. I'm digging it. I've got one now. It's in the garage. And it'll be interesting to see what we end up doing with it. And in the future, we'll take the 500 and the 450 out together and do some long extended rides, ride them back to back, do some more long-term comparisons. So thanks, everybody. Go out on whatever bike you have, whether it's red or orange, whether it's a red KTM or a white or a blue or an orange KTM or a red Honda, whatever. Go out, get some adventure.